Hello, everyone, and welcome to ForcedToPod, a Forced to White production. My name is Saxon, but you can call me Sax. Joining me tonight, the man who knows no stranger nor pepper too spicy, the man with the noisy water softener, but we figured it out with a couple blankets. Nick, how you doing, man?
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
I attended a middle school choir concert tonight, so
Let's go.
about as good as
All
I
right
can
all right is top tier for that.
What was the best number? Give me best number.
be. It was a medley. Well, actually, I take it back. I was pretty impressed at the very last number that they did. They had the kids surround the audience in the auditorium, right? Make a big box, and they did Carol of the Bells, and every
Okay.
Okay.
section was doing, different pieces of that number.
Nice.
So
That's kind of fun, yeah.
yeah,
That's cool.
so that's
That's
pretty
great.
cool.
Love my experiences. Maybe I'll get into it here in a second, but I guess I'll introduce our third chair in case you don't know him. Last but certainly not least, the man who would always rather be outside than wherever he's at right now. The one and only I am the mountain man. Walker, how you doing, man?
Oh, still in the room. But back to Houston on Thursday.
There you go.
So, and hopefully for a good long while after that because we're coming up on this Christmas vacation. So,
I was
feeling
wondering.
excited.
Ooh,
Yeah, I was wondering what your guys' breaks look like around Christmas. Now, obviously, I took a lot of PTO, so I'm not going anywhere. I'm not doing nothing. I'm the guy on site all Christmas in case things run afoul, and I don't actually have an issue with that because there's going to be basically nothing happening. But when do you guys kind of call it quits for work and kind of tap out for the holidays and stuff?
Thanksgiving week.
University. Oh, nice. Yeah. Well,
A few weeks ago, actually.
Yeah. No, the university gives us like 10 days off.
Oh, sweet.
Just like because it's like university holiday or whatever.
Right.
Yep.
So I'm going to Thailand. Did I tell you guys I'm going to Thailand? I'm going to Thailand.
I did not know you were going to Thailand.
Yeah, no, 23rd to the 6th or whatever, but
Huh.
I only have to use like 2 days of PTO for that because of the
that's
way
cool.
the university comes out.
Nice.
So that's what I'm calling it quits Friday the 19th or 20th or whatever.
Oh, that's it.
20th. Yeah.
Yeah, Friday the 20th,
Very
I'm
nice.
out. And then on my way to Thailand on the 23rd. So we will not be recording.
There you go.
Yeah.
Is that's vacation? Like just purely
Yeah.
like interested to go? So you and Chloe going together?
Yeah, actually, it's for my mom's 60th birthday. So
Just not gonna let him go to Thailand by himself.
I don't know, man.
it's like that old SNL sketch. I want to learn Thai so I can go to Thailand for a thing. Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. Weirder things have happened.
You're the dog in the background.
I saw that.
No, little tail. He's trapped. But no, we're just going for my mom's 60th birthday, and
Okay.
it's gonna be a lot of fun. So it's my mom, me, Chloe, my mom's boyfriend, and all my siblings. So there's quite a few of us, and we're gonna do like a whole, see Thailand. I'm gonna get to go scuba diving again. 'Cause I have my dive license. Also, another thing about me. I don't know if you knew.
Of course.
Interesting.
Well, I didn't know that, but I could have guessed.
Yeah.
If you would have asked me, I would have said, yeah, he definitely does have that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I don't know that I would have. I feel like there is a very real possibility where like the shorelines where you cut off. Like just hard cut off like water.
See,
no. I'm good I'm
that's
good on the
interesting.
mountain, but don't get me by that water. Or in the
You
water.
would say
You
that
can get
though,
by the water.
but like I'm nautical first, my man.
Huh.
I grew up on the ocean. You forget, Maine is more ocean than it is mountains.
I mean, I guess, but that's not that. When I met you as the mountain man,
Yeah,
so like I don't know what I'm supposed to.
I'm not the ocean man. Ocean man.
Yeah. We got Aquaman over here.
Aquaman.
So.
No, I've been sailing since before I was born. I got scuba diving. It's all good. It's the eternal dichotomy of my life: the mountains and the water.
Interesting.
And you're stuck right in the middle.
And I'm stuck with neither.
On land at sea level.
Absolutely unlocked.
That's why I hate Ohio. That's why I hate Ohio.
One of the many reasons to hate Ohio.
Oh yeah. So. There's a lot. We don't need to get into that tonight, though.
Yes, absolutely. So, Well, y'all, tonight, this is our 11th episode of the podcast. So one big 1-1, continue to, or we appreciate everyone that continues to listen, write comments, throwing them out there. I did get to share our Spotify creator wrapped with you
Oh
guys.
yeah.
I thought it was cool. Thought it was
Yeah.
interesting. To get in there, figure out what was interesting. So, just a little behind the curtains for everyone on YouTube. I'm not sure if it has to do with thumbnail, something of that sort, but the top viewed podcast that we have is the what games have we been playing recently. So we talked about Diablo and Helldivers, and I talked about Destiny a little bit that night. That's the top viewed. That thumbnail was a bit of a banger. Just really
It
popped
kind of
off.
was, yeah.
And so, and I did very little for it, just a little crossfade between two key arts for different games, and it worked out. However, if I remember correctly, I'm actually blanking at the moment, but I'm going to see how fast I can pull this up in real time. So hang with me here. Our top viewed or listened to episode on Spotify, it was one of the earlier ones. It was Life, Death, Marriage, and Fuel Economy. That was episode number 2, actually. So we got
That's
into
a good
there,
episode.
and yeah, people really enjoyed that. So, just getting in there, kind of having an idea. So we appreciate all of you that are listening, writing comments, sharing, doing that. I even my parents, when we were at the holidays and stuff, they let my sister know that she was featured in the Santa Claus White Lies
Oh
episode,
no.
and so her boyfriend and one of her best friends, they listened to it and stuff. So shout out to them for listening, and just having some I don't know, being able to talk with some real people about it's kind of cool. So we appreciate that. So, well, boys, tonight I want to talk. I don't want to start on a like somber note, but I just want to. This is our group therapy session, so I just got to get this out there. And I kind of feel like from the intro and time talking with you guys that you guys might be in a little bit of a similar headspace. So I just titled like our topic 0 intro is like, is it seasonal depression, lack of motivation, or just getting old? You decide. I'm I'm just feeling like an all-time low motivation for like almost everything right now, and it
Yeah.
feels like I need to do everything at the same time. And I don't know if you guys are feeling anything similar, if you go through that, but I kind of wanted to just pause it or just throw out there like, what do you guys do when you're feeling a lack of motivation, in key areas? Like, do you guys have key things that you do to kind of shake that off? Does it just happen naturally, or like, do you have any thoughts about that?
Um,
I definitely understand what you're saying. I
yeah.
totally feel you. It's this year especially has just cooked my like mental bandwidth. Um, so yeah, I mean, usually the lack of motivation is because like ain't got no more brain cells for the
Yeah.
thinking. Um, and so for me, I just do something like just mindless. Um, you know, throw a stick at a tree. That always helps me. Walk around, kick a rock. I always love a good kick a rock. Sometimes lift log and see what thing underneath log. That's another good one.
Yeah.
Um, Sort of revert back to 4-year-old me.
Yeah. That's
That's
fair.
what helps me.
Nick, you got any
I
thoughts on that?
yeah, I get it like every morning when I wake up to work out or whatever. The only thing that helps me in that situation is like basically mentally belittling myself. Like, you stupid fat piece of crap. Go work out. Like,
Yeah,
you
Yeah.
need to
sure.
do it. You're gonna do it because you need to do it. I'm like, oh fuck. All right, I'm gonna do it. But like work wise, if I'm just sitting down here and I have 700 tickets to work and I don't know where to start, that really the only thing that brings me out of that funk is metalcore or like hardcore metal music. And I'll just throw it on in between meetings and just start banging away on my keyboard.
Yeah.
Um,
Begin at the beginning is always a good thing to remember.
yeah, yeah. And then I'll get like 3 or 4 things in, and I'll just
Yeah.
sit there and go, all right, I did some stuff. And do I need to keep
Mhm.
doing stuff? Can I play games on my phone now? Like,
Yeah.
which I
I
can because I work at home and I don't have anybody asking me what I'm doing all day, which is a real problem sometimes. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I feel like for me, so I do really really well with a goal. So like when I knew that we had our trip coming up and I wanted
Mm.
to diet and work out and lose weight and be aggressive towards that, I'm like, I'm locked in because I know when the date is coming. I know what that is. I did that for our wedding, you know, wanted to be
Yep.
in good shape for that, you know, things of that sort. And then just like leading into things like if I have goals I'm working towards, and then when I find like I get to the back path or the next part of that. So even something as simple as like when we were trying to purchase our house, like we had a time window to
Yeah.
like that we wanted to get
Yeah.
the house and needed to get all this stuff done. Like I do really well and I can keep motivation. And honestly, it's like a hyper fixation on that. So sometimes it's not the greatest feeling, but it's like I know I have it locked in. But I feel like I'm kind of in this place where a lot of things that we've been looking forward to personally and just you know between Heather and I or whatever or just family stuff kind of has come in and then just man we were looking back at the last year like some cool stuff has happened but also some very heavy stuff has happened and I'm just like I don't know if I'm just like in the mental place of like man what's around the corner you know what could be coming down and so I'm trying to enjoy prepping to enjoy the holidays, as far as like some extra time off from work and having family in town, things of that sort. But yeah, it's just recently kind of been feeling that way. So it's gonna tie into the final topic of the or tonight that I'm gonna bring up a little bit about gaming because like you know, because I even think about like hobbies. Like recently, I've just not had any real desire to, you know, some of my biggest hobbies, playing video games and doing other creative things. Obviously, you know, the podcast every week, but full transparency, it's like, man, it's like the week gets away from you and you just like, man, what, you know, it's here again. We're recording.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, things of that sort. And life just kind of catches up. So it's kind of how I'm feeling
Yeah.
recently. Don't need to get too deep into it. It's just like, just I don't know, just got to get it out there, get it off my chest. But I'm hoping that maybe our next topic here, our first formal topic, I just have again, Nick. I feel like I just have like 2 words on the screen every time you send me a topic over, and so I'm just gonna rattle the words, and I'm kind of just gonna let you put this. I have two words and a question mark. Frog milk. That's what I have. Frog milk. So
yeah,
Right.
it
go ahead
is.
and take it away.
It's
Let me know
definitely,
what that is.
it's definitely about frog milk. So I was scrolling. It's been a while now, but last month sometime I was scrolling and I came across on Facebook a meme, or not even a meme, but like one of those a picture of something ridiculous. In this case, it's a clay pot full of milk with a frog in it, like a bullfrog sitting
Oh
in the milk.
yeah.
And there's a big caption, and I'll read it since we don't have it up on the stream or whatever. It says, before refrigerators existed, people would preserve products that needed to be kept cold, such as milk, by putting frogs in them. In the past, each community had its own method of preservation. The ancient Russian and Finnish communities found a magnificent and very clever solution to this milk preservation, throwing brown frogs called rana temporaria into milk. Let me pause there just to say, this reads exactly like some made up shit that your boomer grandpa would post on Facebook, right? There's more. A scientific study conducted in 2013 proved that this method worked. It was revealed that proteins such as brevenin 1-TB synthesized from the skins of frogs and other amphibians restricted the life of some bacteria. Thus, the Russians and Finns discovered, albeit through trial and error, that they could fight bacteria by adding proteins produced from the skins of frogs to their milk. When I read this and nearly scrolled past it without thinking a second thought, and then I said, you know what? No, I'm going to find out if this is real. Where did this come from? So I did a deep dive. There seemed to be some articles that were like, yeah, this is, possibly real, blah, blah, blah. And then I found a paper, a scientific article, written, basically studied the proteins in these frogs from this one specific area in Russia or wherever. I'm trying to find the
It's like Eastern Russia, Finland area.
yes, yeah, I can't remember what they called it. I was trying to find the paper. Anyway, it's a real thing. They have these real proteins that inhibit bacterial growth, um, and it's not completely made up. But I was just, it was one of those. I was like, why are people posting this? Obviously, this is stupid. And I thought, you know what? It's whatever. We'll see. Let's do some research. I did. I mean, it took days for me to find the paper, and then it took several more days for me. I had to. It was available on ACS Publications, which if you're not a researcher or a student doing research, it wanted me to pay $50 for this paper,
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
which I which
Fuck that.
which can spurn a whole separate conversation because like paying for peer reviewed research is generally a like you're you're helping fund that research, right? In most cases, a lot of times you have these big publications that are just like making money off of students
Yeah.
doing research or whatever. So I didn't want to do that. So to get around it, I logged into my Marion student account
Oh, really?
and sent a request to like somebody who had access and said, "Hey, can you give me access to this research? I'm a student doing research." Essentially, I just filled out like a form. I didn't actually type that out. Say, "Hey, I'm
Sure.
doing research on frog milk or whatever." And so a couple days later, I got an email and I was like, "Yeah, here's the link." So I downloaded it and I read it, and there are 76 different like peptides and sequences that they tested out of these frogs. I mean, it's super detailed and technical on like a biological scale, but it was pretty interesting to read the abstract and all of this other stuff. So that just goes to show you sometimes the bullshit you see on Facebook is real, but you have to work. You have
should
to work
believe.
fairly hard to figure
Yeah.
out whether or not it is.
Well,
So,
serious kudos to you for like
yeah,
actually following the thread. More people should do that. So
That's what
really
we
I
good
do
call
job.
have
hyperfixation.
for real, for real. I do have a few follow-up questions for it. So first off, is this just milk that this is working in, or was it other, you
That's a
know?
good. I don't think any other substances were studied because I think it was mostly looking at milk for the fact that it spoils so quickly
Right.
That's
and
fair.
easily
That's fair.
because of the bacteria. Um,
Right.
it
Now
also I
we're
didn't really see any mention of like how contaminated your samples are if those frogs are pooping and peeing in your milk jug. I don't know if they're just dunking them in just to get some of the frog
yeah,
skin slime on
Frog
there or
juice. Yeah.
yeah.
that's kind of what I was thinking too, because I'm like, I feel like you wouldn't actually. I feel like there would be a way to get those proteins or whatever the material is to get it in there without actually having to dunk a live organism into said food product. But I don't know.
I mean,
I
maybe
guess not.
it didn't really
So,
say.
and then the other thought I had is kind of what you said, how you wrap that up by saying like sometimes the stuff you see on Facebook is real. What what from that would you? Is there anything they could have added? Like it caught you, right? Like, and you're like, oh, that's cool, like whatever, and then fixated and found it and pulled that string. Is there anything from that, or like you think that they should have added to the original post, or things like that to like prove that it's, what I mean? Or like, do
Yeah,
you think
I,
it's just kind of
Cite
the
your
nature of
sources.
it,
Cite your
yeah.
sources.
I was gonna say yeah. One, put a freaking citation in there, but it was like I'm looking at the cropped image that I sent you guys in the Discord. I cut out the um whoever the name of the group or whatever that posted it. It was one of those like
Right.
you know real clickbaity
Yeah.
article
Yeah.
I
posting,
gotcha.
just churning out content kind of
Yeah.
groups or whatever. Um, yeah, I don't know, man. Like the picture almost looks like an AI rendering of like a frog in a jug of milk. And I read you the paragraph. The way it reads is just bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they could have done to convince me that it was true. I mean, they threw some buzzwords in there with like one of the proteins that they listed, although I actually didn't even check the.
That was one of the ones.
Yeah, I'm going to right
I
now,
mean,
but
honestly, I would counter with, I don't think they should have to like convince you or whatever. And well, okay,
oh yeah,
you
it's in
should
there.
just be broadly, skeptical and try to follow
Hmm.
the thread yourself anyway. And oftentimes I find myself the most skeptical of things that have these almost, it's not even pseudoscience, but try to sprinkle, that sort of thing in there to give something the sheen of authority. Um,
Yeah, I
those are the things you should be most cautious of often.
I feel bad because like it's not as bad when I do it to myself. I'll see a video or something and go, okay, obviously that's fake or that's staged.
Right.
Like you can't believe anything on the internet anymore. But Kristen will show me videos and she'll be like, look how crazy this is. I'm like, it's not real, right? Like I'm so jaded and skeptical about
Yeah.
everything I see on the internet that I
Yeah.
can't just let her have fun watching a video. I'm like, it's funny, but it's not. That didn't really happen.
Yeah.
That guy
Well, and that
staged that or
doesn't,
whatever.
I mean, like, a funny sketch is still a funny sketch. I don't think it really takes away that
Yeah,
much from it if it didn't actually happen. But I don't know. Be
Yeah.
skeptical. Good.
Yeah, I think it's the
Good.
heart behind the heart behind whatever is faked, right? Like if it's supposed to incite anything other than like, haha, that was funny,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
can get into a weird territory. This could have been complete like bullshit and not caused any issues in anyone other than maybe someone like putting milk out and then grabbing a frog and dunking it in and thinking like, but that's on them at that point. That's just
Yeah.
natural
Well,
selection taking place. And like,
motherfuckers are drinking their raw milk and getting bird flu now. So, that's
oh
I
bad.
yeah,
guess.
I've seen that. That's so stupid. There was somebody
Raw milk.
I saw one where somebody was
Oh my
like,
God.
"Yeah, I've been drinking raw milk, but I boiled it first or whatever to make sure there's no bacteria in it." And somebody was like, "Congratulations, you just figured out how to pasteurize milk." Like,
Well, it's not boiling, actually. It's like almost boiling. You're not actually boiling the milk. You get it, you pressurize it, and then heat it. You basically superheat it past boiling, but because you're pressurizing it, you're not
right,
actually hitting the vapor pressure to boil.
Hmm.
To be, if in case you were curious.
right. But
See,
yeah,
that feels fake. I'm
essentially
gonna
it
need to
was
see some sources on that.
yeah,
Louis Pasteur. That's my source.
There you go.
Motherfucker was awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I don't know. And there's so much even when it comes into like what platform you're seeing things on. I think we've talked about it before. I'm not sure if we were recording or not, but basically the idea of like, okay, if you're doing a Google search nowadays and you're as frustrated as I am with the state of Google, just do your Google search and just put the word Reddit at the end of it. And you're almost
Yeah.
like 99% of the time, you're going to actually find something helpful. Whether it's what you directly want to find, that's up in the air, but you're going to find some helpful information, or it's at least going to get you a little closer to where you're going.
yeah. I
Google,
actually use
it
Bing
really has
search.
turned into shit.
I search with Bing
Mm.
just as my default in my browser, but you
God
know
damn,
what?
bro. You didn't have to out yourself like that.
It's fine. I get Microsoft rewards points for doing
Yeah,
that.
I didn't know if you still get rewards for it or not.
Oh God.
The one area I have found that Google is still superior as a search engine is when you're looking for torrent files. Bing will give you very limited results, and it's usually
Huh.
not an actual like download link. But Google usually is like, "Hey, here's where all the files live. Have fun downloading them." I'm like, "All right, cool, thanks, Google."
That's
They're
interesting. 'Cause
collecting.
other
You're doing
Obviously,
that
they're
countries
research so you can turn it into authorities, right?
yeah, they're
Yeah,
collecting
right.
that data,
Yeah.
right? But I use VPN. It's fine.
Oh, Yeah,
Yep.
Nick's.
Yeah.
Don't worry, guys. Nick's looking that up so he can turn the links into the authorities
Yeah.
because he's a
Yeah.
law-abiding citizen. He is
Yeah.
not going to.
Collecting all of those files so they can be destroyed.
Yep.
Permanently.
Anyways, yeah. Let's get rid of all of them. I'm gonna bring them to my house and put them on my server so I can delete them. That's how that
Right.
works. So
Yes.
Classic.
Classic. Well, thank you for informing us all about frog milk. I do feel honestly that was a much better
good discussion.
Yeah, a much better breakdown into hyperfixation on something and seeing something all the way through, which I applaud because sometimes I don't know, it's very easy to just like read or see a couple of things and then just
and you learn something.
Passing glance. And then, all right, so topic number 2 for the night. Walker, you laid out for me something that you have just accomplished or achieved, and then by the time, so I did a Google search for it, but then it took me to a website. I typed in what you did, and then
Google.
the tab that's still open says is Texas Master, and then I see nature on there. So I put down the topic as you're a Texas nature master now, which I actually already thought you were. So kudos to you.
Yes.
So, but I figured I'd let you tell us a little bit about your achievement and what it actually is called.
So this is just the little thing from me this week. But as of tomorrow, I'll be a certified Texas Master Naturalist, not Nature Master. Very different. That's a different certification. No.
Is it really? Is it actually a separate thing?
No, it's not.
Okay.
No, it's not.
So they are
there
the
is
same.
actually Master
You're
Gardener, but I'm not making that one up. But no,
you're
it's
too
just
white to be a
it's
Master
little,
Gardener.
No, it's mostly elderly women who are doing the Master Gardener. But I digress. It's I will be a Master Naturalist, and that just gives me the authority to lecture people on nature, which I do anyway. But it's
for 11 episodes actually.
Yeah, no,
but
and
now
I
it's
will continue to
allowed.
do so. Now I'm certified to do it. It's mostly what it amounts to is a lot of volunteer time for the state, and putting what it means to me is putting energy back into the wilderness here in Texas, because Texas gets a really bad rap for a lot of stuff, and I'm just trying to do a little bit better for Texas, and make it a little bit nicer to be outside, because not all of us are complete freaks in every way here.
Yeah.
So it's just a little thing that means a lot to me. I think it's been over 100 hours of time this year, actually, that I put in outside of everything else. So not insubstantial.
Nice. Yeah. Now I'm assuming that there's something sort of equivalent in different states, or is this something that's specific to Texas? Or
I think it is specific to Texas, because we operate under the auspices of the AgriLife Extension and Texas State Parks. So the AgriLife Extension is awesome. Definitely shouting them out here. It's an A&M program, but it's basically just A&M offers classes for mostly farmers, and you can go take a class, and it's how to herd livestock, how to do appropriate crop rotation and soil management and pest management and so on. All of these things that are not, wouldn't necessarily fit into a degree, or like a very hyper specific agriculture degree, but are more open to the public, so that somebody who owns a couple hundred acres can get the education that they, the one or two classes that they really would want to expand their knowledge base. And that really is the point of the whole program, is just helping people become a little bit more knowledgeable about Texas. So I don't know if other states have this sort of thing, because sort of in a unique place with the resources that A&M has already dedicated for the AgriLife Extension.
What's it called again?
Which one? The AgriLife Extension or the Master Naturalist program?
Yeah, Master Naturalist. I'm going to see if we have it in Indiana.
Yeah, Texas Master Naturalist. Oh, there you go.
Assuming we don't have the Texas or I'm about to call it the naturalist.
No. Not the Texas
naturalist.
ones. Yeah, no. So
we do have it.
It's
Oh, it's through Purdue
just a
University.
little one.
Ugh. Ugh.
That's a big rip.
Well, now you can't
Not
do it.
No love here for Purdue on our side, unfortunately, for our Purdue
Fine.
listeners.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, moving on to topic number 3, boys. We talked about earlier a little bit with the lack of motivation, things of that sort, and then tying into, our hobbies, the things that we're into. I feel like sometimes I'll get very motivated to be like, all right, I need to get the stuff done in my life, like the good things, so then I can go to my man cave and play video games, do whatever. I'm big on that. Like if I get up on a Saturday and there's I have a lot of gaming I want to do, I make myself like go exercise and get stuff done around the house and things like that, like early. So I'll even wake up before Heather and knock that stuff out. However, I've still been doing that, but then I get done and I'm like, man, I don't know what I want to play. I haven't really had anything. We've talked about this before, so we won't go too deep into it, but Destiny finished its big arc, kind of like the whole Thanos Marvel situation, and killed the big bad, and so Destiny hasn't really been gripping me at this point. There's not been a new raid that's come out, and there's not really one coming out for the foreseeable future. We're just kind of in this situation, and so we pulling back the curtain a little bit. I talked about this, but the game awards every year, we usually in our Discord channel host kind of like a watch party, and we get in and we hang out, and sometimes we'll do some predictions in there and just try to just I don't know, just kind of celebrate the year we had. Because even though a lot of the people that we hang out with play a few games together, a lot of us play a wide spectrum of games. So tonight, my subject was actually going to be, hey, let's talk about what we think or who we think is going to win big at the Game Awards. And boys, I went through and started going through the nominees, and I'm just like, first off, like I don't care about any of these games, and second off, I don't know anything about any of these games, like quite a few of them. So I had kind of rattled some of them off to you, and I know these games are probably great, and they probably are like the direct bullseye for some people, but they just miss the bullseye so much for me. So games like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, a game we'll talk about here in a little bit, Metaphor Refantasio. I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly. Black Myth Wukong, which I know kind of has a little bit of combat chops in a similar realm to Elden Ring, but it's not that, like, from what I've heard. Stellar Blade, which I only know from the very voluptuous protagonist in the game, and like that being a thing where they're talking, half the community's like, oh, they're sexualizing this, needlessly, and the other half's like, I can't play a video game without having, female parts bouncing all over the place. I don't know. And so it's just one of these things where like none of these games are anything I cared about. So I called an audible. I said, let's do something else. So after a lackluster 2024 in gaming, 2025 is looking up. And so here's what I want to do. I want to go through some of the games. I've listed them out. I just went on and I wanted to figure out, like, okay, what were some of the best games that came out this year? And so I'm going to go through, this is from GameSpot. I just, honestly, it's just kind of the first site I found that had a real good, easy to follow through breakdown. Not going to go 100 games like I did the very first episode we did. We are not doing nearly that many. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go, they only had 2 games that got 10s. They had quite a few that got 9s and a lot that got 8. So I just kind of picked out of there like games I thought we might be interested in. And then we're going to contrast that with games that are coming out in 2025 that have been confirmed, the biggest games that they've confirmed. Some have dates, some don't yet, but they've even been pushed before. So we're pretty confident they're coming out next year. And I kind of want to talk about those because I am excited for 2025. So the first game that they had given a 10 this year, and the term game is being used loose here because it is Elden Ring Shadow of the Erdtree DLC. And I know, Walker, I know you have very strong feelings on the Elden Ring side of things, probably even more so than me. Playing through and I think we may have even talked about this. So oftentimes when games come out swinging with an enormous DLC, I will take the approach of like, depending on how long it's been from playing the base game, I will just go back, do save, play all the way through, and then play all the way through the DLC just to get the full package. And then I feel like I can put the bow, tuck the game away, and I can be done with it. And that's what I did with Cyberpunk, and that is what I've done with Elden Ring as well. I actually went through, I installed a little overlay in my game checklist so I could go through and make sure I got every single boss in the game. And so I beat every boss in Elden Ring, going through every boss in Shadow of the Erd Tree. The final fight in the DLC was absolutely wicked and brutal in every capacity. And I scared the ever loving out of Heather. She was in another part of the room when I beat it because I immediately shot up and I was just screaming in joy for finally beating him. And so that was the first game that got a 10. Moving on from there, the other game that was on there was Metaphor Refantasio. And so that's a game that I didn't know anything about. And so I still don't. Just full transparency. I didn't even take time to go in and do that. I
Yeah.
know that it was from Atlas and Sega and the same team that's making like the Persona games, which Heather has played the Persona games, things of that sort. So those were the only
Heard good
games that
things.
GameSpot gave a 10. Now I know there were others that are in there. Mountain, do you want to say anything? Or Walker, sorry. Did you want to say anything about
Yeah.
Elden Ring? You know, obviously we've given its flowers, but like, do you have
Oh, I mean,
any top level thoughts about just Shadow of the Erd Tree and the idea of it being considered, because it is at the Game Awards, it is up for Game of the Year.
yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, it was great. I loved it. I mean, you can definitely make the argument that it was nearly full game sized. It was actually crazy huge, for a DLC. So I certainly felt like it got my money's worth. I'm not super jazzed about it getting a nomination for Game of the Year. I mean, like they deserve all the accolades, and that's really true. And I won't be like, you know, they didn't really win if they won, but I think at the end of the day, it honestly goes to show how few other good options there were. And they were like, I guess we'll just do Shadow of the Erd Tree because it was incredible. I mean, like, it was fucking incredible. I loved every second of it. It was nearly full game sized, but like, come on, it says more about the state of the broader pack than it does about Elden Ring.
Yeah,
Is my thought.
I would agree with that. Nick, you've not touched either of these games, correct? I know you've not played Elden Ring.
No, the Elden Ring's the only one of the two that I've even heard of.
Okay, and that's fair. So for full transparency, these are the games that are up for Game of the Year. So we have Astrobot, which is Sony exclusive, Team Asobi,
Hmm.
Balatro or Balatro, however you want to say it there. You got Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, Final Fantasy VII, Rebirth, and then Metaphor that we mentioned a couple of times there. And so I have personally played Astrobot, Balatro. I've not touched Black Myth Wukong, and then Elden Ring. Obviously, I played that thoroughly. I've not played the other two games on there as well. I would agree, Astrobot is a very, very high quality game. I think oftentimes when they build these categories out, it feels like they do bring in like a more like family friendly game, you know, for a broader audience in there. It is cool to see Balatro on there for, you know, the indie side of things, and that was huge this year. I know that there were a lot of people playing it, and it seemed like there were a lot of people that were discovering it at different times through the year. So like it came out,
Yeah.
had a little bump, and then I don't even know if they were like pushing things out or doing collabs with other, you know, games, things of that sort. So I guess when I was going through and I was clicking through multiple categories, and then it was like these 6 games, and I'm like, okay, I have 3 of them I've touched, and you know, I 100%ed Astrobot, but that was more of like a fixation on just making sure I had all the trophies because I've done it with every
Yeah.
Astrobot game and stuff like that. So it got to a place where I wasn't enjoying it anymore. I kind of felt like it was a chore. So I don't look back on that time and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can see it was a great game, but I didn't really. It wasn't like going through for Elden Ring for me, and like, I mean, I'm just gripped by the whole process of it. So, I'll continue through this. Those are the only two games that received 10s. And then these are the collection of 9s here that GameSpot handed out this year: Astrobot, Animal Well, Balatro, Destiny 2: The Final Shape, Dragon's Dogma 2, Hades 2, Helldivers 2, and then the last one that they've released or they've given out was Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And so Nick is shaking his head. Nick, you actually came off of playing Indy right before this. Do you have any thoughts that you'd like to share on that?
Well, yeah, first of all, out of all those 9s, that's the only game I've played. And it's good. It's great. I like it a lot. So I really like the Indiana Jones franchise in general. And I like, so far, I mean, I'm only a few hours in, right? So it could turn out to suck really bad, which I don't think it's going to, but like all the cutscenes feel very Indiana Jones. The soundtrack is like right on the nose. It feels like you're watching the movie. Granted, I'm playing my Xbox, so the graphics could be a little better for cutscenes, but like I'm not complaining too much, right? And the voice acting is great. I didn't even realize at first that the guy voicing Indiana Jones wasn't Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
I had to look
Troy,
it up.
Troy Baker is incredible.
Okay. Yeah. He is. He's doing
so
really
good.
well. So, the gameplay, I found myself getting frustrated with like how slowly he climbs ropes or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I remember like, yeah, that's how it works. People don't just like climbing things isn't always Assassin's Creed. You don't just get to zip up the side of a building. It takes a fucking minute for you to get up there.
Yeah. And he's grunting when he's like clambering
he's
up onto the
noises,
rooftop and stuff like that.
Yeah, all the puzzles have been fun. A couple of them I felt were a little easy. I think I could probably turn that up in the settings. But
are you doing the more guided side of things, or did you do more of the
absolutely
Explorer?
Yeah, very casual. And so but I mean those aren't any even real complaints, right? Just
sure.
I think it's great so far. You get the whole evil Nazis, that's a very recurring theme.
Not to the Nazis. Kill them.
Yeah.
Oh hell yeah! To the
thank you for
very clear.
Thank you for distinguishing that.
I'm enjoying it a lot. It's made me not even like forget about the other games that have come out. Really, the only other release that I've waited for and played very much this year was the Vessel of Hatred from Diablo. So, I've had a good time so far. Kristen was giving me a hard time. She's like, "You're just gonna play Indiana Jones all night?" I'm like, well, no, actually. Gotta go talk to the fellas for a while
about Indiana Jones.
Yeah, exactly.
About Indiana Jones.
I think you're a little further than I am because you had mentioned like you're taking a little bit more time to do. I'm in the Vatican, so I'm early.
Yeah,
but it is really cool, and I got Heather to get hands on with it because we were just there and walking through at night and looking over. Did you guys know about that?
No way.
I didn't.
You guys
didn't
didn't have any idea about that?
I don't know.
So, anyways, it was very cool. Very cool to be able to do that and kind of, just stand. I don't know the stealth aspect of it. And for full transparency, I have no love. I have no hate, but I have no love for Indiana Jones. I've never seen any of the movies. It's a franchise that has It's a franchise that has completely missed me. And so I'm actually excited about it because I understand like the tropes and stuff that come from it. I understand like the influences that it has had on things like Tomb Raider and then Uncharted and things of that sort. But
everything,
but it's just one of those things where it just wasn't something that was on. It wasn't something that anyone around me was into. And so I don't have, no negative, no positive. I'm just square down the middle. But
we'll let you know that here's a hot take, but Last Crusade is the best of all the movies. Everybody's going to tell you it's Raiders of the Lost Ark, but it's not
Mm,
really. It's Last Crusade.
it really is. It really is Raiders of
It's
the
not
Lost
though.
Ark,
But it's not.
though.
It's Last
It
Crusade.
so is.
Well, I'll see if I can get my hands on or figure out where to stream these, and maybe I can do a little research over this Christmas break. That'd be
Wait,
fun.
so you've never seen the movies? Did you at least recognize the opening scene of the game?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
So I had seen
It's the boulder scene.
yeah,
Walker, in
and
case you haven't played
understanding.
Oh, well, I haven't played
Yeah.
it yet. I need to play
Yeah,
it.
well, so
But
that is one thing.
it's classic.
So it's on, yeah, it's on PC. It's on Game Pass, which is incredible. So I'm playing on PC. Game Pass, did not buy it full out. It's on PC and Xbox right now, and then I believe April it's coming to PlayStation, which I think that is a very reasonable time window to have an exclusive. I know that there's been a lot of uppity people online about the whole, Sony does all their exclusives, and then the only cross, pollination they do with the platforms is PC, moving things over, but they do that like 2-3 years later. Like that's usually how long they're starting down the path of getting, some. They've released a couple of games day and date. One was Concord, which died in epic fashion just days after it came out. So it's just one of those things where Helldivers was another one. However, that was second party. That wasn't directly from Sony. That was something that was kind of a different situation. So I think that this is a great approach in that if they're going to put these games out and they're going to invest in these massive properties, I think this is the approach that they probably should have taken for Starfield. I'm still not convinced that Starfield's not coming to other platforms. I would expect that at some point they'll try to do that.
Is it not?
But I don't believe they've announced or talked about anything with it coming to PlayStation. So it's on PC and it's on Xbox.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say it's on PC for sure. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, so I played it on PC and it performs fantastic there. I just think if they want to dedicate their resources and make sure the launch is as clean and crisp as possible, having it there. And then, Call of Duty obviously came out as big as ever. It's something that came out when it came out in a storm, and there's a lot of people. I see a lot of people still playing. It seems like Zombies in a great position, things of that sort right now. And so, I know that those aren't the classic Xbox games, and a lot of people like throw criticism and say like, well, they just bought that, right? They just bought Call of Duty and Black Ops was already in production and stuff. But you have to believe that Phil Spencer and a lot of like Microsoft, executives are in those meetings, right? Being like, hey, this is how we're going to roll it out. Yeah. This is how we're going to leverage the marketing dollars and everything with Microsoft. And not that Activision, didn't have crazy money for marketing as well, but just one of those things. So, Indiana Jones for me has been fantastic so far. My way too early review in our Discord was that Indy very good. Indy fun to play. There's nothing quite like moving through. I'm trying my best to not use a gun. I don't know if that's going to be possible.
Yeah,
but I don't want to. I want to just use melee weapons. I pick up off the ground a shovel, a bat, a hammer, whatever. I want to sneak up. I want to bonk Nazis on the head, have them go to the ground, pick up their body, throw it in the shadows, and then just move on. And I think that's sick. I think that's sick that that's an option. I don't know if it's an option for the whole game to not use a gun, but I would like it to be. So
I think I used a gun early. Like I picked up a rifle from a Nazi that I bonked in the head with a bottle or something and shot a couple other Nazis with it, and then like ran out of ammo very quickly and thought, meh. And then like I just hit some people with it. And then after that, I never missed it. You know what I mean? Like you can stealth your way around, or I mean, I'm playing on an easier difficulty, so you can literally just sprint out of sight of somebody who's about to catch you.
For sure.
But yeah, as far as I've gotten, which is probably not that far ahead of you, I haven't felt like it was even an option. I've forgotten several times that he has a pistol in the inventory. I'm like, I'm just fist fighting people most of the time.
Yeah, I I just got a camera and I
That's
just
heavy.
used it. Like that's where I am. So
Okay. Yeah.
um,
So
we're probably
I'm
not very far apart
several
from each other.
hours ahead.
Oh, are you? Okay. So
Yeah.
that's literally
Yeah.
as far as I got. We've had a lot of stuff going on. So those are the
That's fair.
games, we've talked about the final shape being a 9. I know a lot of people talked a lot about Dragon's Dogma 2. I loved Hades 1. I've not really touched Hades 2. So I'm kind of giving that time to cook because I know that they released it in more of a full situation than Hades 1 was released. Hades 1 was in like pre alpha when it first came out, and then they rolled it out for years.
Yeah.
And then they said, "Hey, 1.0's here." And it's
Yeah.
like, what the heck are we talking about? Like there's speed runs and stuff
Right.
of all this going out. So Walker, was there any games we've talked about Helldivers before, but I mean, I don't know if you've been playing more or anything of that sort recently, but
A little bit more. It's gotten in a much better place, actually. It's still exceptional. I mean, like every once in a while, it's great for a couple hours here and there. The formula is awesome. It doesn't have a ton of holding power, just because, like, it's simple and straightforward, and that's all you really should ask for from some
what
games.
does the
So
community look
I have no
like for
notes.
that? Do you have any concept of how many people are still playing Helldivers 2 right
I
now?
think quite a few, but I haven't had any trouble finding
Oh, yeah, that's
games when
good.
I do play a couple hours here and there. So it's like, I think it's still quite robust. They've got good content coming out. They keep releasing new enemies, like surprise, like without telling
Interesting.
you, the people. So like all of a sudden there's the fucking bugs fly now. You're like, ah, son of a
Huh.
bitch. Um, it's like part of the like galactic war sim
I
or
see.
whatever. Like the bugs have evolved, figured out. So it's a fun. It's good for a little cosplay too.
Yeah.
If you want, you can. The community really likes to, you know, get into the headspace, which is, your fun little pseudo fascist space marine thing, which is all
Oh,
Yeah.
fun,
you're
fun and games.
Democrats. Thought it was democratic, not
Yeah,
fascist.
definitely
Yeah.
democracy, definitely not authoritarian nonsense.
That's
Uh,
funny.
it's good.
That's
No
awesome.
notes. I would not. It's not the best game in the world, but it is perfect at what it does.
That's great. And I think there's something to be said. I think we talked about that last time we talked about Helldivers, but just like a game that's willing to unapologetically do what it's good at. Like, just do that. I don't need you to be the
Yep.
every game.
Yeah.
Whereas you have a game like Fortnite that comes out with stuff every single season, and they are every game, and almost every game is good. Like with that, and I don't know how they do it. I don't know how they have the resources to do it,
It's
other than
insane.
they're just masters of the sandbox that they've created. And so, they're working right now on a 5v5 first person mode.
So
They're working on an extraction shooter, and it's just crazy. Like they're just
it's it's not even Fortnite anymore.
I mean, it is though. That's the thing that's
I mean,
crazy.
fine, good. Like
Because they had like the Save the World. Fortnite Save the World was like their first, which was like just a horde mode type game. You know what I mean? And then I think they literally during the season just kind of like dropped support for it. Like they didn't update it or do anything with it. And some people were a little frustrated, but I do find it interesting that it's just they're in a situation where they're like, that is not a moneymaker for us, because people buying cosmetics for a PvE based thing doesn't matter as much as buying that kind of stuff, buying a battle pass to use in a competitive setting against other people. Because there's nothing quite like dropping
yeah.
in, getting on the battle bus, flying in, thank the bus driver every time, hit B, and then just get out. And as you're flying down, you see everyone, like you see Snoop Dogg on your right. Now you're going to see Godzilla on your left with Jordans on. And it's stupid fun. It just is. And it frustrates the time out of me when the bananas come around the corner. Just a team of bananas. No, it's the
A squad
tropical
of
birds.
peelies.
The,
Oh,
the tropical birds get me every time. They incite so much rage in me. But it's just one of those things, man. You just drop back in, just go, just ready up and go and give it another shot, and you never know what you're gonna find. And so
you're gonna find a
they
bunch
keep
of
refreshing.
sweaty tryhards. Is what you're gonna find.
Yes, you are. Yep.
Yeah.
Especially if you play OG. That was brutal for like the 3 games I played the other day, and I'm like, oh, I'm going back. So, well, continuing on, these are the 8s that I pulled out. from GameSpot's list: Black Myth Wukong, Call of Duty, Black Ops 6. It was funny. They actually had all 3 modes broken out from each other. So zombies, multiplayer, and
okay.
campaign, but they gave an 8 to each of them. So I was just like, I understand, like, I understand reviewing all of them separate, but for this list, I didn't understand why they broke them out still. Diablo 4, Vessel of Hatred, Dragon Age the Veilguard, and then EA Sports College Football 25, which I did not touch, but I don't know. It was just one of those things where, like, I have such visceral memories of playing. Honestly, not even like playing college football, but I was playing that with my dad quite a bit. But there was a college baseball game that came out when I was in like 7th grade, and it was sick, and I loved it. And I would play. I don't know. I would just like play the career mode all the time in that. So. I have to go back and find that. So those were the few that I pulled out of 2024. And then I just wanted to close up by talking about the few banger games that are releasing in 2025. They're slated to release. We can't even start the list without talking about the biggest game by far. Whenever it drops, whatever year it drops in, it will be by far the biggest game. It could come out on the 31st, and it will be the biggest game of the prior year and the next year, which is Grand Theft Auto 6.
Yep.
I can't wait to just see more. The first trailer that came out was ridiculous. And so just there were leaks for GTA 6 that came out, and we were seeing just like the early, bits and pieces of it, and then seeing what they did in the trailer. The Vice City vibes of everything were just insane, and just going back to that. So do you guys have any love for GTA? Do you guys play or hop into anything? Because that's actually something that I really have never gotten into, but I've had a lot of friends that have done a lot of GTA online and stuff like that.
Not really, honestly. I never played it because it was mostly Xbox, right? For like a long time, right?
I
Or
can't
was that
remember.
not?
Because I'm kind of
Yeah.
in a
Well,
similar
I
place.
never really played it, and I guess GTA 5 has been out forever,
Yeah.
and then I sort of missed the launch, and then never really. There's always other stuff to play, but I'll probably play 6. And I mean, I loved Red Dead Redemption,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure if I loved Rockstar's game or if I loved just being a cowboy. So
that is
we'll
very
see.
fair. It's
Uh,
very fair.
I do. It's hard to say for me,
I've tried
but
to fire up Red Dead so many times after my first playthrough, and I think
never
it took
played
me
it.
like 65 hours, and and that was just I did some side missions and stuff, but that is how long the campaign was and how winding
no,
it
yeah,
was,
that's like as fast as you can
and
do
the
it.
payoff is incredible. I mean, it really it isn't a fantastic game, but it's just one of those things where like I get into the very first mission and I'm like, this thing moves so slow. And I understand that they're telling a story and going through it, but I think that
Yeah,
there's something to be said. Like if you don't have time to dedicate to that, speaking to you directly, Nick, like if you've never played Red Dead, I think watching, I I don't even know. Maybe Red Dead Online would be the way to go instead of that, like being able to quickly hop in and then just experience the world. Um, in that capacity instead of playing through. But
Yeah.
I do think it's worth
yeah,
like just experiencing the game. It's cool. So
I mean, I'm in that same position with Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, where
yeah.
like it's taking me so long to get through the story, and I'll play for an hour or two a couple of nights a week or whatever, and I feel like I'm not making progress, and I'm doing so much stuff.
Does the so
I-
with a game like that, like does it because I imagine it's like, oh, we're gonna put this game out and that gives people more time on Pandora and like more time with the characters they love. And I
yeah,
feel like
Yeah, and they
Avatar is just one of those like the most like bland, like
it's so
the
bland.
most
It's
bland
great.
products that like it seems like everyone loves. Like they make more money than God, so there
it's
has to be
colors.
an audience out there.
It's colorful.
It's pretty. It's
Yeah,
fun.
it
The
looks
brain go burr, but like
Yeah.
Yeah, no, nobody's like, boy, my favorite character of any movie that I don't even remember the main character's
Yeah.
name because I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it looks great. That
You
game
know?
looks awesome. Some of the gameplay mechanics are interesting, like just when you're gathering resources and you have to cook food and do all this stuff.
Yeah,
It gets very repetitive. You're killing the RDA soldiers. You're shutting down
yeah.
like plants that are poisoning the environment, just like drilling sites or whatever, and it's all the same thing over and over,
I'd like this game.
just with harder enemies. But it's
Yeah,
fun. But there are a lot of like you get deep into the Navi culture stuff, where like with the different clans and you're doing different missions that uphold like different clan traditions and stuff like that. It's cool, but it's just a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot. Um,
yeah.
and to bring it back to GTA, I that was like one of the few games I bought at launch because it was so long ago and I was a very poor college student living by myself, not having a lot of money, and I spent the full $60 to buy
Damn.
that game for Xbox 360 and played the shit out of it. I didn't really get into online, but I played the campaign several times.
Well, you
You know,
probably couldn't much on the 360.
well, yeah, but I
You
mean, I'm
had to
talking
upgrade your
now.
console for that.
Right. Well, you could play online on 360. Well, I don't know if GTA Online was a thing for the 360, but like obviously I was playing Halo and stuff online back then.
For sure.
But
Yeah,
um,
and I think I remember my buddy playing it. This was probably in like 2014, 2015.
mhm.
He was playing it in his little like one bedroom apartment. I came over, we were hanging out, and I remember him being so frustrated because he accidentally loaded in something incorrectly, because on the Xbox One it would take so long to load into GTA Online, like ridiculously.
Oh
And when
yeah,
he loaded, I don't know if he loaded the wrong character or something of that sort. And he's like, damn it. He's like, I gotta wait another 20 minutes to get back into this world. He's like, I just wanted to show you one thing. And I'm like, dude, it's fine. I'm chilling. Like, we'll sit here. He's like, no. He's like, promise, dude. When I load into the right world, because I think it loaded even faster. So I was like, no, it's gonna be fine. And then the next thing he loaded, it took so long to get in there.
I
It's
think
crazy.
I think I signed in once or twice to GTA Online to get like they were giving away a bunch of money because their
Mm.
servers weren't acting right or whatever. And so
Oh
like if
yeah.
you log in at this time, you get a bunch of in-game currency. Um, I see a lot of videos and clips of like people just being outrageous, and I appreciate it. But yeah, I never really got into that part of it. I liked playing. If I play now,
Yeah.
I'll just load in and drive around and maybe do a side mission that I have left, or go steal a car and paint it and drop it off in my warehouse or whatever, and just have a good time. The map is huge. You can go
Nice.
steal a freaking airplane from the military base, steal a jet or whatever, and then jump out with your parachute and then go, shoot somebody in the face with a rocket launcher or whatever. I remember when we played the
As you
older
do.
GTA games as kids, my cousins always had them when we would get together with my mom's family. And she would always tell us, like, I don't want you guys, my mom would say, I don't want you guys playing that cop killer game. Because we would go, the cops would come after you and you'd shoot them or whatever,
Right,
try and
because
get
you
away.
voted
That's
something.
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was something so invigorating about just getting the stars up, like the wanted stars, like just seeing them climb and being like, you're just flying past and you just see all the police cars like
There's no
flying the
way.
other way
There's no
as
way.
you're just,
You're
yeah,
not
just
getting
go,
out of it.
go.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just looking forward to, honestly, I can't wait to see what kind of story they try to tell in that world in
Yeah.
2025. Like, it's been so long since then. And in some of the commentary I'd heard about the game, just to close up on this, and then we'll buzz through the list real quick. The idea of like GTA is kind of just like a commentary on like what's happening, but what's happening like
Yeah,
in real life
yeah, it
and things of
is.
that sort. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's like, what are they gonna do in 2025 Florida nowadays.
Yeah.
Like I can't wait
But
to
the
see what they
previews were
do.
basically just like Florida Man Simulator. Like,
I know. And it looks sick. So I can't wait to see what they do. So let's continue down this list though here. So the next game I'm also super excited for, which is Doom the Dark Ages. Um
That'll be
oh
good.
man. I can't wait to see Doom guy
The new Doom
going through.
games.
Yeah. All three of them, or the first two, are incredible, and I cannot wait to go through in like a medieval setting. I don't even know how it works. I don't even think that hard on the timeline, anything of that sort. What's happening? It's like just get me in that world.
Rip and
Yep.
tear.
The idea of just going through, killing, and then that enemy that you just killed turns into a health pack is such a cool like gameplay loop. So I'll definitely be looking into those. Neither of those games have a release date. The other game on this list that does not have a release date is Death Stranding 2. So I played Death Stranding 1. I think I probably got in about 45 hours into it. What's interesting, I've heard a lot of people, because it recently came to Xbox. The exclusivity deal that Kojima Productions had with PlayStation expired. And it was funny. The literal day it expired, they pushed send on the Xbox and it just shadow dropped. Like, obviously Microsoft knew it was happening, but like no one else knew.
I have
And
it on PC, but I haven't played it.
yeah, I have bought it multiple times. And so the nature of it, for anyone who is unfamiliar, is you are what's known as a porter, and you are taking, in this like post-apocalyptic America, you are taking goods from point A to point B and you are transporting them. So it's kind of a risk and reward type situation where you're on foot, you're going and you have this backpack and you can stack up a ton of boxes, a ton of things on your back, but there's kind of like real physics simulation in there where like if you stack up too high, you're going to be very unsteady and you can fall and drop everything and you can break the packages you're doing. And so but there is what they call, I actually can't remember the exact terminology they do, but basically it's kind of this social structure where the different porters, if let's say that you get the resources to build a road in a certain area, you could build that road and then you could place for other people. Like other people will be able to use that road to traverse the terrain that's out there. And then another person could drop a vehicle that's going to be at the beginning of that road. So it's just going to make your time transporting so much easier. And so this interconnected nature of everyone, it's kind of like a ghost type thing. Like these people, you don't see them in your world, but you just see the remnants of what they've done for you.
Of what they've built.
Yeah, which is super cool. And so I say all that to say the Xbox community is having a much different experience than the PlayStation community had when it first came out, because none of that stuff was in the game back when PlayStation came out. Or it came out on PlayStation. Now
okay,
everyone
so
at
it's
Xbox,
not fresh. It's
these
the
people,
same.
like if someone's dedicated to Xbox and they don't have a PlayStation, they don't have a PC, they're getting to play Death Stranding for the first time, but they're hopping into these servers and they've done like crossplay and stuff of this sort. So there's all this infrastructure built up, bridges and roadways and all kinds of stuff laid out for them, and they're like, this is awesome, like to be able to see that. So I've thought about firing that back up. I think that'd be cool. And then here are the 4 games that do have release dates. So Civilization 7 is coming out on February 11th.
Classic game series.
Feeling hopeful.
What you say?
It's
classic. Yeah.
I would love to. I've touched a little bit of Civ in the past, but this one, I mean, they all look great. I'm like, how many civilizations and iterations can we come up with? But they all look fantastic.
You know what, boy, would I really
it's
like
just
to
improvements on mechanics.
I would really like to see a thanks Obama somewhere in the Civ 7 when you start a nuclear war.
Civ 7, yeah. Thanks Obama.
And then
when Gandhi starts a nuclear war.
3 days later, on Valentine's Day, Assassin's Creed Shadows is coming out. So then, what was that about?
It's just funny that a new hotly awaited Assassin's Creed game comes out.
Are we going to dinner?
No.
Assassin's Creed.
Yeah, so
Well, that or
that
like
is a
nothing to
Friday.
let you know how lonely you are. It's like you're not going out on Valentine's Day
Oh
because you're
God.
playing. You
Yeah.
are just playing
He
Assassin's
will
Creed.
Yep.
not listen to the podcast, but I guarantee you that Jay will be playing Assassin's Creed Shadows on Valentine's Day instead
That makes
of
my point. Thank you.
exactly. Yep. So
Also,
Jay is
probably
a
Luke,
maybe. I don't know if he's into
which makes the
Assassin's
other
Creed.
point.
Yeah, but he may be playing whatever Assassin's Creed ripoff is in Fortnite at the time. Heather is actually very
Yeah.
into Assassin's Creed as well, but she will not on February 14th be playing that. And then
What?
Avowed comes out on February 18th. It's just a few
I'm
days
excited
later.
about Avowed.
The screenshots that came out for Avowed recently were stunning. And then the fact that you can now, because I thought it was in first person only, and so that's another thing about the Indiana Jones conversation was I was like, man, you have Indy, like you want to see him, you want to move through that world. It feels like it's perfect for that, like over the shoulder, perspective, third person looking.
Yeah.
I think they do a great job in Indy with the whole like, okay, you're clambering, we're gonna pull the camera out so you can see that and then zoom back in for everything. So far it seems like it works great. However, I loved to see that Avowed is going to give you the option to go either third person or first person.
Oh,
And
nice.
Bethesda, of
well,
course.
so it is, but it's also like the offshoot of the teams and things of that sort.
It's Obsidian.
So it's one of those things where like I truly think like from the earliest reveals, I think that this was going to be an only first person game, and they delayed. And I think that that's something that they came through and kind of came to. And I have no information on that, but I wonder why, because that was some of the criticism it was getting early on, where it's like it kind of looks a little weird and it's first person and things of this sort, and only stuff like that. So. I say all that to say I'm not huge into like high fantasy type games, things of that sort. But for if it's on Game Pass, which I would assume with all Xbox games, it is. I'll definitely give it a shot and see what it's about. And then finally, the last game that is slated to be an absolute banger that has a release date on it, February 28th. So February is just irrationally full.
Holy moly, yeah.
Monster Hunter Wilds is coming out at the end of that, and the beta alpha whatever it was that happened a few weeks ago, right around when Call of Duty released, was insane. The amount of people that were playing the beta at that time. And so that's another game that Heather's gotten into in the past, and I know I think Elle's played it. Different people get into Monster Hunter. It's going to be insane how big that game's going to be. And so I say all that to say that's a very long-winded way to say like the way that I was feeling low about some of the games in 2024. I feel like it's a swing year. We're getting back to the place where I think there's going to be a lot, like when we talk about Game Awards 2025, the conversation is going to be insane. Indy's going to be in that. Indy will be in that side of things because it missed the cutoff for this year's game. Right now we have Path of Exile out. Obviously a lot of people are playing Call of Duty, things of that sort. Call of Duty's in this year's, but it's the same idea. It's just like there's a lot of games that came out at the end of the year here. Yeah. They've kind of missed the mark for myself. Sounds like they might have missed it for you guys too, but next year, looking up. So any last thoughts on the state of gaming right now? What your thoughts are on some of them games for next year?
I just hope I have enough time.
Yeah. That's.
I just want to be less busy.
I don't know you have that coming down the pipeline. It doesn't feel like you have less busy coming down the pipeline necessarily.
No, you're
with the wedding.
I have to get married next year.
So
I get to get married. I don't have to get married.
Yep.
Well, yeah.
For the record.
You have the option.
Okay, well, we're kind of
you have the option to get married.
Regardless. Yeah.
I was gonna say I feel like I'm gonna have a lot of anxiety about all these games to play now because this year's release schedule really worked for my personal schedule in that I was busy as hell for most of the year, and only a couple of games came out, and I had some time to play those games. And now next year I'm probably still gonna be busy as hell. Actually. all these bangers are dropping in February, and I'm tentatively planning a boys trip in March to go out to Phoenix and watch some NASCAR and hang out with my buddies. So like, and then spring breaks right after that. So we're gonna end up probably going to Florida again for spring break, and then I'm not gonna have time to play all these
What are you
great
gonna
games. Yeah, so maybe they should just do 2 or 3 good games a year instead of 5 in 1 month, and then it'll be good.
Well, we'll have to get to the point where we could, if there's a lot of games that happen in the same time window, be like, all right, Nick's playing this game. Nick,
We could delegate
Nick has the least amount of time.
responsibilities,
He's
yeah.
doing this.
Yeah.
It's like we got to at least touch him so we can
Yep.
talk about him, because I will say a lot of people who do listen to the podcast, they enjoy when we talk about video games. And I would, full transparency, I would like to talk about video games more, because that would mean I'm probably playing more video games, and
Right.
I miss that.
Oh, that's a
So
good point.
it's just
Yeah.
one of those things where it's like, not necessarily, I know we got people who like the life stuff. We're going to keep talking about that, but I do enjoy when we talk about video games, because that usually means I'm playing video games. So,
Well, and that's a part of life stuff for us, right? It's
Yep.
mostly how we met a lot of our friends.
For sure.
So,
Stress.
for sure. So, well, if you're still hanging on here with us, we appreciate you. Thanks again for coming around for, hearing the three of us and our weekly therapy times.
Bullshit,
just
Yeah,
getting
I
here
appreciate it, because I've listened to the episodes and I know what my voice sounds like. So if you made it to this point, kudos.
Yeah. Oof.
So, we
Well
appreciate
done.
you guys. Yeah, please, if you're listening and maybe you just stumbled across it somehow, please like, subscribe, do all those things, leave comments.
Comment,
Yep,
follow.
makes me excited when I see those things come through. Except when the comments are like, "Hey, the podcast's broken here," so we're working on that. We are recording on the outside. There may still be technical difficulties. We may have had some in the middle of this episode tonight. You may or may not hear that. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah.
But we appreciate you guys, and have a great week.